Welcome to The Middlemen on Enterprise TV, the show that delves into the critical issues affecting my country, your country, and explores the complexities of the systems that shape our lives. Join me as I welcome Juro Harry Igwebike, who will be discussing the travel adventures of Bro Tinubu. And I, Juro Emeka Madago, will be talking about reforms, not power grab, for 2027. Don't go anywhere. Middleman. You're welcome back. My case. Recently, some influential politicians gathered to discuss strategies for producing a successor to President Bola Tinubu in 2027. One of the attendees, Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party, later came out to explain that grabbing power should not be the priority of opposition politicians. Rather, he advised that electoral reforms should be emphasized. Some other commentators have said that many opposition politicians are more interested in pushing themselves forward as the most acceptable presidential candidate instead of first fighting for the National Assembly to amend contentious areas in the Electoral Act. For instance, beavers and IRF are not yet in the Constitution and the Electoral Act. So they argue, how do we guarantee free, fair and credible elections if these issues and others are not attended to timeously by verdict? If opposition politicians truly desire to prevent Tinubu from returning in 2027, they should unite and push for far-reaching reforms. The sitting INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is due to leave soon. The process of recruiting a new chairman should be removed from the presidency. INEC should be an independent body that cannot be manipulated by the president. The choice is ours. I so rule.
Awesome. I think this cannot be, overstated because it's a burning issue that's been there for quite some time. But most importantly, for the fact that it's an issue that concerns us, a generality of Nigerians, because the truth be told that we have deficit, a very big deficit in leadership in Nigeria. As at the time we would think that we would see ourselves competing favorably with other nations, the League of Nations. Rather, we are retrogressing at geometric progression, and for us to catch up, it needs to start from leadership. I love to believe that leadership has one formula all over the world. Geographic sports can be different, culture can be different, tradition can be different, ways of life can be different, but leadership, the core attribute, the core virtue of leadership is the same all over the world. If you take a good leader from Kigali and brings him to Nigeria, he would perform well. Take an awesome leader from Nigeria and take him to the United States, he would perform well. If you take a bad leader from the United States and bring him to Nigeria, he would do as bad as he had done in the United States. So I love to believe that it's a formula that works for anyone who believes truly in good leadership. Now, speaking of our electoral reforms and all, I think it's very important that we tell ourselves the truth here. The reason our politicians have not gone far and ahead in ensuring that there's a conducive electoral reform, that would be deliberated by the members of both the green and the red chambers, is because they are beneficiaries of the mess happening in the system. Because how do you make good something that would hurt you at the end of the day? So the reason our politicians have not been able to see through some of the difficulties that we have in electing or selecting or appointing or whatever it is, but getting the right persons in the right places, is because if we get it right, then lots of people would lose their jobs. Lots of people will be out of job. So that is why we keep having this consistency of having the wrong people attend to the right positions, and most importantly, not having them do the things that they should do ordinarily at the time they should do it. Speaking of Peter Obi, right now he looks more like the golden child. Everybody looks up to him. As much as generality of Nigerians have been divided on ethnic, religious grounds with respect to Peter Obi, we believe that he is just one person that everyone feels at this point, he is the best for the job. But the question is it ever possible, given the differences that we have, the fracture that we have in our ethnicity, religion? Do you think it's ever possible for
but the thing is that Peter Obi is right now saying he's talking more about electoral reforms than grabbing power, than just coming together to grab power. Over the years, since 1999, the consensus of Nigerian politicians has just been get there and then you can make any reforms. Just get the power and then you can embark on any reforms. But at the end of the day, when they get there, they just do some, minor things and, want to get applauded for majoring in the minor. And so, I think the issue of electoral reforms should be, primary, should have primacy of purpose, in primacy of intention, among Nigerian opposition politicians. Because the problem is that, in their deliberations, from what I gathered, it has always been a problem of, everybody, people talking about, I will be the presidential candidate. I'll be the presidential candidate. I'll be the presidential candidate. Whatever the platform, I'll be the presidential candidate. Now, whereas, some certain, members of the opposition, leading members of the opposition are saying that, no, we should not be talking about grabbing power. Tinubu has been dispensing favors left, right, and center, so that he can have a smooth landing, a smooth sail in 2027. But to, stop him in his tracks, you have to really think very hard. You really got to work very hard. Look at what happened in 2015. How politicians across North and South divide, were able to rally around and get Jonathan defeated, squarely. I mean, it was such a resounding, defeat. I mean, for a sitting president to have been defeated that way. So
that's because President Goodluck Jonathan, of course, was a gentleman in that particular.
No, not just about
what would he have done? Would Bola Tinubu be as gentle?
No. What would he do? What would Tinubu do? Will he kill people? Would Jonathan have killed people? The international community would have stepped in, because if you look at that time, the opposition to Jonathan was able to build a strong case, that got the whole world interested in Nigeria's elections. There were even reports that some foreign countries actually stationed warships, close to Nigeria in the Gulf of Guinea, in anticipation that war might break out, after the election. If you remember, a prominent politician actually said that some politicians were involved in bringing, mercenaries from other countries, into Nigeria to fight and disrupt the peace if Jonathan had cancelled the election. So what I'm trying to say is that if we continue on this path of just grabbing power, we will not achieve the desirable electoral outcomes that we expect. I mean, Muhammadu Buhari actually said then in 2019 that if he will not accept defeat, what kind of thing is that? What kind of talk is that? That's not what you expect of a leader. And you saw how he failed woefully, because he had no program. He was just there just to enjoy the luxury of being a leader. He had no program. He had nothing to contribute to the progress of Nigeria. You can see, the same thing happening with Donald Trump today of the US. Saying that the 2019, the election of 2020, 2020 was rigged. That the outcome. But what has he been able to show as his program, as his plan of action in the last 2 weeks? So that is the issue. Leadership should not just be about grabbing power. It should also be about consultation, working with different interest groups, and with the objective of ensuring that you can translate as many of your campaign promises as possible into policy decisions, workable policy decisions that will be in the interest of the people.
But the truth remains, sometimes I just sit back and ask myself if P2B has got, that thing, that's aha.
No, yeah, P2B is saying that people should know that it's not about whether he wants to. That he's not desperate to be president. That he is not desperate. That is just about that he is desperate to see Nigeria succeed, and he's ready to work with anybody who thinks alike.
Very true.
All right, when we return, Junior Henry Gobike will be taking us on Flights Without Fortune, the travel adventure of Bro Tinubu. Please stay with us.
You're welcome back to The Middleman. My case is a spoken word poetry titled Flights Without Fortune, the travel adventure of Brother Tinubu. He boards again, another jet, another land. A leader in motion, yet a nation stands still, struggling, sinking, and waiting for the fruits of journeys unending. They call it diplomacy, they call it ties, they call it progress. Yet, where are the signs? Deals are signed in halls of power abroad, but at home, hunger grows, hope erodes. The streets whisper what the gain. When the naira stumbles and debt remain, factories silent, power dim, and jobs just dreams on a fading whim. Foreign investors yet to arrive, trade deals lost in the archives, while the people bear the weight alone. Their leader roams, yet nothing's grown. So tell us, sir, are you touchdown? What wealth have you brought this town? Or are these travels just a tale, a grand parade, a costly fail? My verdict: President Tinubu is truly the flying president who has achieved his dreams. Call it a miracle. Yes, he has achieved his dreams without little trace that will be left after it's all done.
Very interesting. Yet again, President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria has taken to the skies on another foreign trip. His unending foreign junkets bringing little or nothing to the country. We understand that the federal government is planning to borrow $580 million, and the question remains that during the recent meeting in Davos of the World Economic Forum, there a lot of presidents were gathered there, but President Donald Trump didn't go, of the United States. He joined them virtually, and he was able to get some good deals, even though he made threats and all of that. Now, that should be a lesson to the leaders we have here. You see governors junketing all over the place saying they're looking for foreign investors. Which foreign investors? If you cannot get your people to be interested in investing in your state, who will come from anywhere to come and invest in your state? It's the same thing. Just jumping all over the place, saying you're looking for foreign investors, and then they bring up, some phantom stories. Where is the Indian investor that also bring billions of dollars to Nigeria? Where are the investors that were to set up this, set up that? You see, the point is, if you run your country well, investors will naturally flow. Remember, the current British monarch, King Charles III, Buhari asked him a question. The former President Buhari, he asked him, do you have a house in London? And he said no. But he didn't get the sarcasm, in that question. If you don't have a house in London, why are you always here? Why are you here regularly? For what? You're the president of the country. Why are you here on a regular basis? It's the same thing people will soon start asking Tinubu. Do you have a house in France? Why do you spend more time outside your country than within your country? So it is a fitting lamentation about his, about Brother Tinubu's regular jaunts around the world.
It's actually very funny, how that those who claim they know better and have said continuously that when given the power, they can do a magic. I remember in his interview with the BBC, he said that if people want to know how good he is, if they want to test his leadership dexterity, they should look at Lagos and see what he has done. And the question is, what has Tinubu done from 1999 till about 2007, I guess? Yes, they might say he had laid the foundation, but the question is, how much of that foundation, if you compare it to cities like Lagos, would we say that Lagos has really grown in sympathical with some of the cities that are of mates with Lagos? The president has been, of course, traveling all around the world. His media details and those who are handling his media would say continuously that there are reasons why the president travels a lot. Mm-hmm. But the question I still ask is, why must all the travels done by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu be targeted at France? He has gone to France more than he has gone to other countries. And the question is, what exactly is it in France that President Bola Tinubu is very, very interested in? And he said that he was to have a talk with President Macron. And the question is, the last time he went there, was it that what they talked about, wasn't good enough that he had to pay President Macron another visit? Another rhetorical question is, what has stopped Macron from equally visiting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu if they were such, jolly good, people? Why would President Bola Ahmed Tinubu always and at all times be the one to do the travel to France, while Macron hardly comes to Nigeria?
Well, that tells you about the misplacement of priorities. Tinubu has paid a visit to France. Macron has not come to Nigeria. But if you remember, Macron was in Nigeria during the time of Buhari.
Yeah, during the tail end of Buhari. Yes.
He went to the shrine. So I mean, that tells you, how much we consider our relationships with other countries. On what scale do we place ourselves compared, to all these countries? But well, it's interesting to know that he's enjoying just jumping all over the place like Obasanjo, did like Buhari. In fact, Buhari spent more time outside the country. At the point, he spent 103 days, in the United Kingdom. Out of 365 days, he spent 103 days, came back, disappeared again. So that tells you that these people don't have any agenda for leadership in Nigeria.
Yeah, so speaking of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's adventure, I actually had to, title it, the adventure of Brother Tinubu, because of it's one man that I would love that every up-and-coming leader should study. And the reason why I feel he should be studied is for leaders to come to not repeat exactly what he has done, because of a good leader should stay home rather than being around the world.
Junketing all over the world.
Very well. Yes. So this is our episode for today on the Middleman. I love to believe you enjoyed our show just like we did. Thank you, Juro Emeka. My name is Juro Henry, and we'll be right here next time for another episode of The Middleman. But please do well to visit us. You can always find and reach us at enterprisetvnews.com. You can watch this and more of other programs at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Kwibike. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time on The Middleman. Bye-bye.